If your progress when trying to get shredded is looking like the image you can see on screen, then you have come to the right place. I'll give you a little bit of tough love, but I will give you some tangible things that you can improve on. We'll hit 3 main reasons as to why. And if you get all 3 of these right, it is now an impossible that you will not make progress. I'm not going to give you hacks and shit like that, because hacks won't solve your fucking problem. You need the raw principles underneath. I just throw a quick 3 little reasons at you, that it's not really going to work. So you can get 3 solid ones that, honestly, if you do these 3, you will get results. And the reason I can say it with such conviction is I've done it countless times. If you don't know who I am, my name's Tom Sergi. I run the Gorilla Platoon. We get results like this. So I have full conviction that you follow these 3 points, you will get fucking shredded. Trust me when I say that. And that is my promise to you, to uncover the 3 big reasons why people don't make progress when they are trying to get shredded. Straight into it. The first one, people misjudge their starting point and the time frame to the goal, and or they just don't know how to actually work that out, and that's quite understandable. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So what people will tend to do is they'll look at their image at the start and they'll be generous to how much body fat they're carrying and how much they actually need to lose to hit the goal. And then what that will do is it will shorten either the deficit they put themselves in or the time frame they think it will take to get there, and then they'll be disappointed when they don't hit that goal, sack it, and then actually not really make the progress that they needed to see. So what we're going to do is give you a tangible tool now that you can take away and understand how to actually calculate your time frame. What I want you to do is visualize and look at this image for the next 3 seconds, and then we're going to compare this image to get our starting point. Let's say, well, I know at the time this guy was 88 kilos, so we've got his current start weight. Let me show you a tool now. So what we need to do is assess his current level of body fat percentage. And luckily I've got this graph of pre-recorded guys and their body fats. So, and honestly, when you're at home measuring body fat, that is going to be the best course that you can use is photos, because let's be honest, you're not going to go and get a DEXA scan. You can tell me you will, but you're not going to. You might buy calipers, but then you're relying on someone that is qualified enough to use them, and then that person has to take them every time. Otherwise, the accuracy is going to be off anyway. So and let's be honest, don't even tell me you're going to use the machine at the gym. That doesn't, if you hold it or stand on it, it doesn't know how much fucking body fat you're carrying. There's not a chance. So your best bet is to go off photos. Now, as we look at this guy's photo, and then we're comparing it to what we can see on here, honestly, he's as close to 20% as you're going to get. Like, fair enough, he's got a little bit of ab structure we can see here, but that's just because he's got thick blocky abs. Like, realistically, there's a lot of body fat being carried here. So what we're going to need to do is be quite conservative, and you want to be conservative when you look at this. Like, I think this guy is honestly, I mean, you see a little bit of it, intercostal muscle and rib. Let's be conservative. Let's say he's at least 20% body fat. Maybe he looks a little bit less. You might look at him and think, he's less than 20%. But I'm going to be harsher. I'm going to say he's 20% body fat. So with that now, what we can do is punch that number into here, and also we know he's 88 kilo. Let's say he's 80 on the dot for ease. I can't remember the exact weight I was at the time, but it was pretty much 88 kilo. So now what this will give us is his lean mass of 70.4 and his RMR, resting metabolic rate, at just shy of 1900 calories. For his activity level, most people are going to be sat here at 155, moderately active and train 3 to 5 days a week. If you're in construction or you're in the military, you're going to be very active. If you're completely desk bound and you just about get out for some exercise, then go 135. And what this is going to do is times the 2 figures together, and it's going to give you your maintenance. So this guy's maintenance was 2,900 calories. So I'll come on to feeding in a minute, because it will take me quite nicely on to point number 2. But what we want to do is establish his goal point. Now, as a rule of thumb, you can expect if you're 20% body fat, you want to get down to 10. It's a little more over 10 kilo that will have to come off, because roughly 0.8 of a kilogram is 1% of body fat. I know from this guy's dieting phase, to get to the goal he needed to drop 13 kilos, which is what he did and achieved. Now, the way you would work this out is you go 70%, you would go 70.4, and you would times it by, go for 8% body fat instead of 10, And that target there, that number is what you're going to have to get to the goal, which would have come out at 76 kilograms. You got to 75. Very nice. Cool. How long is that going to take? Honestly, you can drop a kilo a week. And especially when you're towards 20%, to getting down to 15, you can drop a kilo a week. No problem. So realistically, this guy, to drop from 88 down to 76, you could do that in 12 weeks. You actually could. I'd be conservative and go for 14, because most human beings do something where they slip up or they lose a bit of progress, or for some reason there was a lack of adherence or whatever. So let's aim off and let's be generous and say it's taking 14. I always like to be conservative. Remember that this is the main fault of what people are doing. They're not conservative with their start point. They're not so conservative with the time frame. We've been conservative in both areas, and at the worst case scenario, it's going to take us 14 weeks, and we need to drop 13 kg. Not really too much of an issue. So that's how you set yourself up. That's how you get your start point. You want to be conservative with where you are and then your time frame. Establishing where you are, where you need to be, which is lean mass times by 8%, pretty much, because you want to look fucking very crispy and shredded. And then that's going to be the goal that you push down to. So that is how you remedy the main fix that people need. Now let's go on to point number 2. So point number 2, and do you know what? This is probably more common. Well, actually, people won't really know if they've not got the start point in the right position, but people do know when they're actively making this mistake here. Playing all your cards at once. To get you from where you are now, 20% body fat, down to 8 to 10, you have a certain amount of tools in your toolbox to use to get you there. The first one, as you know, will be food, the amount of nutritional intake that you have within a given day. Now, what motherfuckers will do is they'll start with that really, really low and thinking, big deficit, big drop off. And for the first couple of weeks, that probably will work. And that's the funny thing. And this is why people get 4 weeks in and then fall off. But if you've gone really low really early, where do you go from there? Let's say, for our example, we sat him on 2,000 calories. It started to work in the beginning, we dropped a good bit off. Now you're going to 1,800. 2 weeks later, you're at 1,600. Then 15, then 14. And before you know it, this motherfucker's on 1,300 calories. There's a hard rule, especially if you've got any muscle about you. Do not go below your resting metabolic rate amount of calories. Let me bring the slide back up. So for this guy, 1,900 calories is a non-negotiable. You cannot go below that. Otherwise, it's just not healthy to do. You will lose muscle mass if you take the calories this low. So that's a problem with going too low too early with food. What other tools have we got? The use of output through cardio. If you bang the cardio up to 30 minutes daily from the beginning, again, your room for progression is only up, and you're going to be doing 60 minutes within 4 weeks of starting. What other options have we got? We've got steps. So cool, you start on 10,000, and before you know it, you've had to push it all the way up and you're doing 20k a day. Where I'm going with this is you play all your cards too early, you're going to still need to play those cards later on down the line to get that body fat off. The body will respond to the dosage you put it on until it won't, and then you have to pull that lever to make the change. If you have already played your cards, you're going to be on very low food, very high output, and you're going to have a very miserable time of it, which means you just won't stick to it and fall off. So instead, we want to frame it in a different way. So we got this guy's details here. We know his maintenance. I would go, if you're 20% body fat, I would go no more than a deficit of around 500 to begin with. So I'd be coming in here. And if you're any leaner, if you're anywhere between 17 to 19% body fat, I would actually go in at this target here, just a 200 calorie deficit. And as well, it will also depend if you are, let me show you some image examples. If you are like, it's a little blurry, which is a shame. This guy, and this guy, they needed to also develop some muscle to get their results. As you can see, they're not lean, and they've not really got much muscle either. Now, if you're doing a recomp like that, you need food, because food will drive performance in the gym. That will get you bigger and grow tissue. If you go so low with that food, you're not going to be able to grow any muscle, obviously. So then before you know it, you just end up even smaller and skinnier, but then still couldn't get that last little bit of body fat off because you sent your food too fucking low. So if you're like this, where they're probably leaner than my starting point, albeit you can't see their abs as much, but that just develops on the muscle structure. They actually didn't need to go in as low of a deficit at all, and you can stay at that for maybe the first 6 weeks to allow yourself the ability to build some tissue, and then go aggressive in the last stage of dropping off the body fats. That's something else to consider when you're going into this deficit. So you can always go lower, and let's be honest, if this is your maintenance and you've not even been tracking or eating food, if you eat just below that, you're going to see a drop in the first week. And for as long as you're seeing that kilo come off, bang, 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 you're doing a good job. Now you just need to make sure you're pulling those levers as you're going through the dieting phase. And the way I like to approach it is set you on a certain amount of calories, see how you respond to week 1, drop to kilo, good, perfect, we run from there. The next time we want to see a change, I'll increase through output and cardio, starting at just 20 minutes daily, something that is non-impact, that doesn't accumulate fatigue, like a bike, incline treadmill walk, or a cross trainer, or elliptical you may call it. And you will then progress that up by 10 minutes every time you need to see a change on a weekly basis. If you ran the first week and you didn't see a change, then go for food straight away, because your input is just too high. Trying to outwork it through output, it is important, but when you've already just overshot the amount of food you need, just come straight down by 200 calories. And then, of course, as you get into the dieting phase, you've still got those levers to pull. You've still got food that you can pull from. And when you're looking to pull from food, if this guy is starting, let's say we did start him on the 500 calorie drop, he's got 54 grams of fat. That's actually a fair amount of calories. As you can see, it's 400, nearly 500 calories. So we've got a good room to play with fats. You're never going to be on zero fat because there's trace fats in everything. Now, I would say your carbs are actually sacred, because your carbs will drive performance in the gym. That will determine how much muscle tissue you retain and build during this phase. So you want to be selective with the macros that you're using, and where you're pulling from and when you're pulling from them. So to round it off with mistake number 2, people play their cards too early. They play them all at once, then you've got no room for progression. Instead, you want to take the approach I've just mentioned. So you get your start point right, and then from there you're looking to slowly pull from the levers to get that weekly response, to drop that kilo every week until you get down towards the goal. So that's point number 2. The last one, and honestly, if we don't fix this, like the first 2 you could say are the principles of dieting and getting you down towards the goal, but they're underpinned with what goes on upstairs in between your brain. Like, we can give that information to someone. If their mindset is not set up, they still won't get to the goal because they're just not ready for it. And what people tend to do is they'll focus on the daily hacks to get to the goal. So they'll try and do like, I'm eating Oreo ice cream, fucking protein, made myself ice cream cookie thing. Like, fuck off. That's trying to find a little cheat hack to make the food taste nice so you can stay on for longer. But let's be honest, you ain't going to stay on, because if you wanted to, you would suffer and eat the foods that you should do that have more nutrients and more volume than you would eat in the sweet thing. So, like, people want to find the fat loss quick hack to drop in body fat. But I'll be honest, as quick as body fat dropping is going to be, you're looking at like 1% of your scale weight per week. Roughly, that can be around about a kilo. If you're dropping more than that, unless you started really fat, but this guy started at 20%, unless you're starting at like 30%, fine, you can drop 2 kilo a week and that'll be okay. Otherwise, if you're dropping 2 kilo a week, you're going to be pulling off some muscle, and that's the long and short of it. So body fat drop it only goes at a certain rate. Like, let's be honest, you can't just have it really fucking fast. In most cases, if you're assisted with gear and whatnot, fine, but I can't coach that because I don't know about it. So what we need to do is square away people's principles. People always think the grass is greener on the other side. That is not the case. The grass is fucking greener wherever you water it. But the problem is most motherfuckers have brown grass wherever they go. Most motherfuckers, they don't even have water in their watering can because they're just fucking lazy. And honestly, that's all it comes down to. They're lazy and don't want to be uncomfortable. And to get to this certain goal point and to have a certain level of body fat, you have to be very active, the opposite of lazy, and you have to be able to get uncomfortable. You need to stack the principles. I would say the principles that you need to double down on and develop would be the art of consistency, doing the same thing every day without changing it. without getting a new shiny thing, without changing your meal plan. You just got your whole staple foods and you stick to them and you build consistency, because your ability to build consistency in something will determine that you can stick to something that is hard for a long time. That's like saying you and your mate are going to have a bet, and the winner that sticks out this hard, arduous task the longest gets the £1 million house. You'd be like, yeah, no problem, cool, let's roll, because I've stacked consistency for days and days and days. I know I can go through hard shit. I know I'm okay with this. I know I can diet because I went through basic training for the parachute regiment fucking 11 years ago, and no, it's longer actually, it was like 13 years ago. And that was a miserable 6 months of hard and grueling pain and suffering. But I know, because I've been through that, I've got that in my locker, I can be consistent to something that's hard over the long term. So when I'm doing a dieting phase, I just plug and play the same approach. The problem is most human beings don't have something like that to fall back on. So this actually would be your first instance, maybe not you, but, or maybe it is, this would be your first instance of you really putting yourself through a test to work out, are you fit to achieve something as good as this? And this is where you're gonna develop these principles. So consistency will be the first one. Discipline, and when I say discipline, it's the art of doing something that you don't want to do. So like I'm not disciplined because I go to the gym. I love going to the gym. I'm disciplined when I do something that I didn't really want to do. Like, weirdly enough, when I was a couple of months ago, I went to a cenote in Mexico, and you can jump in off them, and I'm jumping out of this tree. And I'm not going to lie, I'm scared of heights, but I just got up on this tree. I really didn't want to fucking jump in off it, but I just did it anyway. And that's discipline. It's doing something that you don't want to do. You don't want to go prep your meals at 9 o'clock at night because it's fucking ball ache. You'd rather just sit and chill. You don't want to go and do your steps when you're fucking hungry. You don't want to do that extra cardio after the workout, but that's where you develop the muscle of discipline. That's where you develop it, by shutting off your brain and being like, let's just get it done. It's going to serve us in the long term. And then the last principle, I would say, is your ability to be resilient. Because you will have weeks where you may not have seen the progress that you wanted to, even though you put the work in. You may have had weeks where life threw a lot of curveballs at you, even when you were dieting. But your ability to be resilient through the diet, stay true to it and stay on it, even when life is not going your way, developing that muscle, developing that character trait, you will take that into every aspect of your life. When relationships aren't going right, you've got the resilience. When work isn't going right, you've got the resilience. And no one could take these away from you. So, like, I can give you the two hacks that will get, well, they're not even hacks, they're like raw principles that will get you in shape. If you follow those first two hacks, you will get in shape, fact. But if you don't develop these, or go into the dieting phase thinking, yeah, I'm going to get a six-pack, but what I'm really trying to get out of it is the ability to develop these character traits that I can take with me for the rest of my life. Because the abs are nice, but it's not even about that. Like, it's not even about the muscle and the abs. It's about knowing that you're that person that can withstand this hard thing to get there, because you can take that into other aspects of your life. Dieting doesn't need to be one-dimensional, and it doesn't need to just be for some vanity reason to look in the mirror, as nice as it is. It can be to go into other aspects of your life. So honestly, like, the third reason is people just don't have the mindset for it. They're not willing to develop and go through and suffer and learn those traits I've just spoke about, or they don't really even see it in that way. And most people won't, to be honest. Like, it's only because I like to look at things on a deeper perspective and try and bring that into these videos that, like, if you've seen them, then you might have a wider understanding. But if people haven't, they're not going to see dieting as a way to develop resilience. They're just going to see it as, oh, I do dieting, I get six-pack likes, Instagram, baby girls. So I do get it. But anyway, I will wrap up there. They're the 3 points in this video. If you found value in this video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to work specifically with me and get the results as shown in the start of the video, not that one, these ones here, then there'll be a link in the description. You can book a call. And otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow.